Hello, everybody, and welcome to the sixth episode of the Clients for Creatives podcast. As always, I have my co-host with me, Greg, today. So, welcome, Greg.
Hey,
And today we are going to be talking about first a pretty interesting topic, or at least something that I feel like would have been very interesting or insightful for me to watch when I was just starting out, which is basically expectations versus reality, making money online as an agency, or like making six figures, whatever that number might be for you. We can only talk from our experience and at what stage we are at, but I hope it's still going to be interesting for some of you guys. So I want to apologize in advance. I've been on a bit of a traveling streak this month, and right now I'm out here in beautiful Turkey, and the internet connection is not the greatest here. So if we have any hiccups throughout the podcast, sorry about it. We'll try to cut it out, but it is what it is. We don't really have any option right now to have better internet connections. So yeah, but going into our first topic, which is expectations versus reality, making 10K a month, 15K a month online with an agency. To be honest, when I was first just starting out and researching things on YouTube, watching all these people talking about how to make 10K a month, how to start an online business, I was considering a lot of different business models like Shopify dropshipping, affiliate marketing, YouTube, agency, right? I couldn't really find a lot of people talking about what it's actually like to get there. And what I mean more so is not like the money wise, but like mindset wise, or how it actually feels. And so for me, it was very strange finally hitting that goal last year, because I was expecting it to be this huge thing, like hitting 8.3K at least in a month, so a six-figure a year run rate. I think I made it out to be a lot bigger thing in my mind that it actually is. I know it sounds kind of stupid, but like, yeah, I was expecting it to feel like incredible all the time, very exhilarating, like super exciting. And for me, like finally hitting it after like 2 years of grinding, it was an incredible feeling. Like it literally brought me to tears when I first saw like, oh, I finally crossed it for the first time in 1 month. I actually did more. I think it was like 12K that month, but anyways, like it was a very nice feeling because I felt like I've been working towards that for so long. But then that excitement or that newness of it really wore off for me after a week or so, and things got like things were just like what they were before. I was still solving very similar problems at that point. I was still doing similar stuff, so nothing really changed, which if you think about it, it makes sense. Like at the end of the day, like how much we're making, it's kind of just numbers on a screen, until you translate it to real life experiences or you buy things with it or invest it or whatever. But yeah, so for me, it was kind of this weird thing where I thought it would be a lot more exciting than it actually is. But there were kind of like pros and cons that I haven't really thought about. So for me, I first want to talk about the pros. So pros, the biggest things I experienced were like after that point, and for me more so around after hitting like 5K a month, since I've been living in Hungary for these years, which is like a pretty low GDP country, pretty cheap compared to US, UK. Like after 5K a month, one of the main things I noticed was like I didn't really have to think about going out with friends or going to a restaurant. I didn't really need to like look at the price of things, which was a very freeing thing, because before that I would always kind of worry, like I don't know if I want to get the steak, it's like double a normal meal, like not sure if I want to do that. But then I think that allow that amount of income, unless you're overdoing it or going to like insanely expensive places, like it allows you to, like get what you want, for example, at a restaurant, or if you're going to like a store, you want to get some clothes or whatever. Like I don't think at that point you need to, think too much about getting a new shirt or whatever if you like something. Obviously it's different with like bigger purchases, and you should always be like, using a budget and think about like how much you're spending, but it allows you these like smaller luxuries, quote unquote, that I think can give you some happiness, to some extent. So that's one thing I noticed. Also, when it came to trips or like traveling with friends, whatever, like I didn't really have to think about, how much it is to fill up the car, or to get like a relatively cheap plane ticket to somewhere in Europe, or anything like that. Or like if we are on a vacation and we decide to go surfing or scuba diving, like, it's like you're already there, you want to do it, you don't really need to think about that 50 euros or whatever. So I think that's like, at that point, like 5 to 10K, if you're living alone, like it is quite kind of like a nice sweet spot, because I think you don't really have that many responsibilities yet as a business owner, or it's not like super stressful if you set it up properly. But you do get most of the freedom, aside from maybe luxury cars, luxury clothing, and watches, and that fancy shit, or like getting bottle service. Like you can't really afford that, but most of the stuff that brings you 80% of the joy, like I think you can actually get with this amount of income and still save a lot of it if you are not living in an insanely expensive area. So yeah, these were like the main pros I got from it, to be honest. Just not or even not even really have to stress about like paying for rent, or food, or even getting like some gifts for loved ones. Like these are all things that, making, let's say, 10K a month can usually get you, and that bring you a lot of like, monetary, or like momentary happiness, in my opinion. um in terms of cons, I don't think there are that many. Obviously, you will have more responsibility than if you didn't have a job or any sort of business. But most of the things that were stressing me out in the beginning, which is like constant communication with clients, like having to get things done on time, everything like that, like most of those things can be mitigated if you have the right systems and processes in place. If you just stay like decently disciplined, and if you hire some like team members who get maybe a percentage of client revenue. So yeah, maybe some of the cons I felt were, um, I I was actually, I don't know if it's a con or not, but as you get used to that, you kind of maybe like tend to think of it as not that big of a deal, even though, like, most people dream about making that. It might, you sometimes, especially if you're hanging around people who are at a higher level, like you might feel like you are, not doing anything, or like you should be way further ahead, or you might feel like, 10K a month is like nothing, when in real life, like, you need to have perspective that most people, really would do everything to have that. So you need to like, it can be a bit harder to stay grateful for it, because once you get used to it. um but that's something to keep in mind as always. And if you're around the wrong friends, like they will maybe tell you like, oh, you should pay for this, you make all this money, whatever, which can feel very bad because you feel like people are using you. So I would cut those people out, first of all. But yeah, I don't think there are that many cons to that level. What do you think, Greg? Like, what were your expectations going into it, let's say 1.5 years ago, versus how it actually feels now that it kind of became a reality at, at our level? What were the biggest like pros and cons of actually getting there? What were you expecting? I would love to hear your thoughts on this.
Sure. Yeah. So first thing, I definitely agree with you, what you just said. I had like similar thing at the beginning, I was thinking like 10K is gonna be like this, massive milestone. I wouldn't even like when I was starting, I had this mindset that I wanted to just like get to 5K, or even like 2K,
Mhm.
then maybe 5K. But I wasn't even like thinking about 10K. It was kind of like I was thinking it's like out of the range, the beginner's mindset. But yeah, I remember I was thinking like, oh, but if I could like get to 10K, like that's gonna be amazing. But honestly, I get like way more joy from signing my first client and second client, maybe even hitting like 2K per month than I got from like getting to 10K per month. So because the thing is like you get used to these things like pretty easily. So then once I got to like 10K per month, I was kind of like used to making like money because I had like 5 7K months. So this 10K month wasn't really like it didn't really change that much. It was just like another goal, another number. So it wasn't like crazy thing. But yeah, but overall, I see only pros to be honest. Maybe the cons like you said, responsibility and stuff like that. But it's actually compared to all the pros, like that's not the problem.
Yeah.
Uh, but yeah, like, the thing is why I'm like I really kind of I'm happy that I'm at this level, and I can like be grateful for all the things. It was because previously I had kind of like I experienced like the other side of the spectrum pretty much. So you know my family isn't like really rich. So for example, my first car that I drove after I just like got my license was like over 20 years old. Fiat. So it
Yeah.
was like really old car, probably you can buy it right now for like $400 or something out of the, used because and yeah, and I was driving that. So that after I got some money and like bought my first car, then recently switched to this BMW. Like it feels amazing just because I didn't have this experience of driving these kind of cars in the past. Because if someone is maybe raised in a rich family and they get the experience of kind of like being rich, living in a nice place, having a nice car, maybe they are not that grateful, and they are not experience that much of a difference when they get like when they make 10K per month or something. But
Hmm.
for me, like it's really amazing. And even right now, living in this apartment, I'm having a nice car, but not even like talking about materialistic things, but just like how life looks like right now. It's such a good feeling for me, just because I had this experience of totally the other side of the spectrum. Uh, but yeah, definitely it's different than I was expecting it to be in many different ways. So yeah, like first thing that I just mentioned is just having this joy of like making 10K, and like I was thinking it's gonna be this huge thing, and right now it kind of feels normal. And what's funny is that human brain is kind of getting used to things so quickly that let's say I was starting, I wanted to make this 2K, and now if I hit like 15 18K in the month, like it feels like a weak month, because like we're used to making like 20 or over 20K per month. So
Yep.
it's quite funny also from this perspective. And one funny thing is that when I was making like 2K, I was like super stressed. This was probably the stressful moments, like 5K per month, just because I had like many small clients. I had problems with these clients, and I was just thinking, oh, getting to like 10K or maybe even like 20K, it's gonna be so stressful because like if right now this is so stressful, like it's gonna be a nightmare. But actually, it's not, because once that we scaled, we get bigger clients, so it's like better clients. I got team members and everything. Change the offer and stuff like that. So actually, I would say this 10K, 20K mark is way better than being at least like to 5K. But for us and probably for everyone that is not living in like the most expensive places, the biggest difference they're gonna experience is getting from like 0 to 5K per month, maybe 10, and like from getting to like from 5 to 10K, it doesn't really change that much. Like you can afford nicer things and stuff like that. But in terms of like living, even like making 5K in Eastern Europe or somewhere, 5K is gonna like you can get a nice apartment, you can drive a
Yeah.
nice car,
But you
you
probably
can
get
afford
that.
much other
So
things.
to be fair though, like if you're in US, Canada, London, any of those places, like 10 to 15K is when you are going to experience what we are describing, most likely. Because
Yes.
if you were paying, let's say 3, 4K for the same kind of apartment, then like you have way less disposable income, also higher income taxes in a lot of those places. So these are all things to keep in mind. You shouldn't set your targets low, I think. Like, you need to be calculating how much you actually need for the kind of life you want.
Hmm.
But I still agree with all your points. And what do you think about getting from 10 to like 20, 25, 30K? Because I feel like now, like the more I'm kind of like scaling up, uh, then after that 10K, like the less of a difference it really makes. And so I had the fortune to have a call with this about Alex Hormozy last week. And basically I was explaining to him like I feel like to a large extent what drove me to the level I'm at was wanting to get certain things, right? And wanting to get the lifestyle. But now I feel that I had the fortune to experience a lot of that, like staying in the nice villas, eating at nice restaurants, whatever it might be for you. Like I had the fortune to experience these, and now it's not really driving me because I see how 50K a month or 100K a month, that alone like won't change that much about your lifestyle. Like driving a bit faster car, a bit fancier car, having a bit nicer watch, like those things are really only going to bring you like fleeting moments of happiness when you buy them, but it doesn't actually change that much on a day-to-day basis. So you need to really figure out what you want to create that is meaningful to you enough to work hard for it and keep going when things get boring and difficult. And also, what is your why? Like, why do you actually want to do that? And some people who are maybe in very difficult life situations, like maybe just to get out of that place is a big enough why for you. But once you kind of got out of that, things are kind of going pretty smoothly. Then you need to really dig deep into your psyche and figure out what it is that is something meaningful enough for you to keep going for it and to bring it into reality, right?
Yeah, yeah, definitely agree. I kind of experience it even right now that, 20K, making like 20K. So even on like really, let's say, even if I would have like a ton of expenses that month, like I would be still left with like 10K profit. And
Hmm.
then, like scaling to 50K, sometimes I think like, what for? Because like I don't even need like nicer apartment. I don't even need nicer car. I mean, I still want to get there, but I was like kind of forced to find like these motivating factors, things that are gonna motivate me to actually to get to this level, and also like find the reason why actually I want to even make this kind of like money, why I want to
Yeah.
scale my business to this level. Because like you said, like for this like 10, 15, 20K, like you could probably get like you kind of have this like millionaire lifestyle because you can get to the nicest places pretty much, live in like stay in the nicest hotels, visit like nice restaurants, all that stuff. Like you can pretty much experience it making like 20K per month. Of course, like
Yeah.
you can't fly private and stuff like that, but
Yeah.
I don't even think like yeah, but like talking about just like this kind of more regular millionaire lifestyle things.
Yeah, and this is something I actually discuss a lot with some of my friends who are, doing like 30, 50K, even like over 100K. I think one of the main shifts that everybody experiences once they kind of finally get a taste of what they were, dreaming about for years and years, and once they actually achieve it to some extent, is you need to at that point shift your focus um from from like insecurity and wanting certain materialistic things. Like you need to shift your focus from those being your main drivers to really just loving the game and enjoying the game. Because and what I mean by the game is like the game of business, kind of, right? Like the different parts of it, like fixing problems, hiring people, and just increasing your leverage at the end of the day. Like if you really enjoy that enough that you would do that instead of other activities in your free time, then you're gonna get to those higher levels by kind of like by default. Because if your default is to work on yourself, improve because you enjoy the process that much, then you're, inevitably going to move forward. But if your main drivers are still just like wanting to show off and prove everybody wrong, like it is not going to take you too far, in my opinion. For some reason, for some people, it might be a strong enough thing that it does take them to 100, 200K a month. But like, if you want to if you want to build something very like significant, and not only that, but like build something long term and stay in the game for long, because we see a lot of people who rise up very quick, make hundreds of thousands a month in the online space, but then disappear a year later. Like, if you don't want to be one of those people, in my opinion, and again, this is just my opinion. I haven't gone through it yet to that extent, so I can only tell you my views on it. But then I think you need to have something deeper than just wanting to pull up in a Lambo and show everyone how big of a bowler you are. Because at the end of the day, also nobody really cares. That's something that's pretty funny as well. But yeah, I find these topics like very interesting to talk about, because I feel like especially now with all the chaos in the world, with everything going on, like everybody's so focused on making this is a conversation I had with a good friend Adam of mine yesterday, that like everybody's so focused on making money really quick and like wanting to make 100 grand 200 grand a month within a few months, that they don't really think about like how can you sustain that long term, how can you build something from the ground up that is actually good, right?
Yeah. And also one thing here is, same thing with like characters. For example, right now, I'm happy that I'm at this level, but I'm not happy because, oh, I make this amount of money. But I see the kind of transformation that I went through over these past few years. I remember kind of me, 2 years ago when starting this business, like, not really like confident in myself and like just having all of these other stuff going on. And kind of right now, and the thing that I kind of the man I had kind of transformed into through this business and through learning how to make money. And it wasn't a quick thing because like I scaled from like let's say zero to like this 20K, but it took me like 2 years, so
Yeah.
it was like a long process. And I'm like actually I'm happy with that, just because it's not that much even about the money here. Like it's kind of about the transformation that you also go through when making when trying to like build a business, and like all of this stuff that you need to kind of you can like develop this character in the process.
Yeah, and also I just want to clarify that we are not talking of like from like a high horse. Like, we know that making, 15, 20, whatever, 30K a month is like nothing in the world of business. We are
Yeah.
still in the early stages, but we just want to share these things with you guys who are, maybe a couple steps still behind us, because we were there just a few years ago. And I think it's just very like insightful to hear these things. You may not find all of that super applicable, but I think if you can, hear this perspective, maybe think about it for a couple, minutes, it might be of use for you, so you don't fall into some of the delusions maybe that we fell into, or you don't have like false expectations setting you up for kind of like a bit of sadness, or feeling empty, I would say. So yeah, I think that's also one point I want to make.
Yeah. Definitely agree. Because like it's also a good thing that you mentioned that, because sometimes when I feel like I'm making like this good amount of money, 20K or something, and I feel like on top of the world, and then like I look at all these people making like 100K, 1 million, 2 million a month, and like it's kind of also like a nice I don't know how to call that, but basically, a lesson that it's really nothing compared to like what you can make and like what's the potential.
Yeah, exactly. And I I think it's a lot of people, especially I see it so much, to be honest with. I don't have anything against crypto guys, but I met so many people who are in like the NFT space, crypto space, and they made, let's say, like 300 grand in a year, and they have so big egos, like they think they are the shit. They think, a lot of them, that they are geniuses and everybody's like below them. And it's like, buddy, like you need to, like
Yeah.
get some perspective. If there are billionaires out there who are way more humble than you, then maybe like maybe it's not a good way to approach life unless you want to be hated by a lot of people, which I don't think anybody wants. So yeah.
Yeah,
Um
yeah.
Awesome. So yeah, basically, expectations versus reality. We were, I think, both expecting all this happening to be something a lot bigger in our minds or like way more exciting, but nothing really changes. The main thing that you need to be focusing on is just your character development, learning new things daily, improving your discipline, and building a team. You know, like all these things are going to make you into a better human being at the end of the day. And this is probably the main reason why I love business and the game, because I look at it almost kind of like a spiritual growth journey, you know. Like you become a better person if you do, you know, things ethically. Like you become a better person by growing your business because you take on more responsibility, you learn more about the world, how it works, how people work, how people think, and you learn how to discipline yourself, motivate yourself slowly, day by day. Doesn't mean you will ever feel perfect or not feel insecure, because I or I don't want to, you know, again, use other people's word, but like when I was having this call with Alex last week, he told me like insecurity never goes away. You just become better at managing it and slowly minimizing it. He said he's still insecure. He's maybe like 30-40% less insecure than he was starting out, but like it never goes away probably, because if the man builds, you
Mhm.
know, like $150 million a year portfolio, 100 million net worth, and he's still insecure, like then, you know, that's probably a lesson, you know, to be learned. You just got to focus on becoming better, slowly. And I think it's also important to acknowledge your progress. You don't want to be, you know, you want to be critical of yourself as always, and like, you know, keep yourself on the tracks. But if you look back a year, let's say after focusing on your self development and building a business, like, and if you see like a clear difference in the right direction, then, you know, acknowledge yourself for that. Like be proud of how far you've come, even if even if the numbers aren't necessarily there yet, like you're not where you want to be, then still, you know, you learned a lot. And not everybody's journey is the same. I thought I would be so much further ahead financially at this point, but I realized I had so many other things as well that I needed to figure out first before I would even be ready to make that amount. So like it's like a big onion. You need to peel the layers back slowly, and you don't know how many layers there are really until you get to them. So yeah, cool.
Yeah,
Greg,
but
do you,
also
okay,
but
sorry, go
also
ahead.
I think, you know, like, so just to also avoid like misunderstanding, because like for me making this amount of money, like it's like nothing really changes, you know, like going from maybe, you know, to 10K from like 5K or something. It depends of course of where you live, but also like it's an amazing feeling to make money, you know, because like you said, you can afford
Yeah,
things, you don't have to worry about the price. You can, I don't know, take your family on holidays, or, you know, just like spoil your friends, whatever, you know, just like it's still like amazing money, like amazing experience, because you don't have to worry about all these things once you have money. But you also, of course, also have other platform like problems, you know, when you do
yeah.
have money.
Yeah, like
But yeah,
relationships, family problems, like hopefully not, but even like health problems, you know, it's sometimes it's easy to forget,
yeah,
but it's not the only thing that, you know, like to live, I think, overall happy life where, or like a stable life, like having money alone, if all other areas of your life are horrible, like it's not gonna be, you know,
yes,
enough. But still doesn't mean that you shouldn't focus on it, in my opinion, because like I think it's especially as a man, I think it's your duty and responsibility to be able to build something so you can protect other people around you as well. That's my point of view.
yes, exactly.
Awesome. Do you have anything else you want to add to this topic, or could we maybe move on to the next one?
I think we can move on.
Awesome. So before we end the podcast off, yeah, I just wanted to kind of cover some of the biggest like mindset shifts that we experienced over the last few years, or yeah, like how our thinking changed. Obviously there are probably a lot of them, so I'm just trying to think about like some of the biggest ones. So I'm going to start off with the first one.
Mm-hmm.
And this took me like a long time to realize, to be honest, but I think it's very, very profound. And that is that your income never outgrows you, or like you can never outgrow your income. So basically, with your if you have your current skill sets and character traits and like way of thinking, and you're making that much, you are not going to be able to make more with the same exact tools that, or like your same exact way of thinking and character traits. Like you will need to upgrade those if you want to upgrade your income. You can never really outgrow your income. That's the point I'm making. And the reason I'm saying this is because, like, even 2 years ago I thought I could be making 100K a month. At that point, with my skill set, I had probably a lot of like arrogance and thinking I was way smarter than I actually was. But then now looking back, I realized like, no bro, there's no way you could have even made 20, 30 grand at that point because you were a dumbass. And me 2 years on from now is probably going to think the exact same thing about me right now. So it's just important, I think, not to be like, not to think that you are smarter than you actually are. That's all I'm saying. Like you need to keep an open mind and always learn from people and be open to learn from people, because otherwise you are going to be just limiting your growth, in my opinion. So that's like one of the biggest mindset shifts that I had, especially this year specifically, or the
Mm-hmm.
things that I realized. And yeah, I think it's something to ponder over from time to time.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, yeah, I definitely agree with this one. You know, I kind of also like experienced that. I don't know when exactly, probably somewhere last year, you know, that because sometimes when we focus on like making more money, it's like we try to focus on maybe, you know, tactics, strategies, stuff like that. But then you come to realize that you also need to become like a certain person. So, for example, you can't be that person that you are today, maybe, you know, I don't know, being lazy, you know, having no work ethic, stuff like that, like not really putting in hours into work, maybe not, you know, like doing just all these things that you need to do to move things forward, and just like not being the person that you need to become to make this kind of money. So just like, you know, so to some extent, of course, tactics and strategies are important, but also you need to, you know, make sure that you work on yourself, kind of even like sometimes even like harder when you that you do on your business, to kind of
Yeah,
become this person that can actually make this amount of money, and what's even more important, that can actually hold this amount of money. Because some people can maybe, you know, use the tactics and strategies and get to like you said, 100K per month, but they can't hold it because they're not the person, you know, they're just not the kind
yeah,
of person that can manage this kind of money, can be like, you know, good at this level.
yeah. There is no real, like that's another thing, that there is no real shortcut, I think, to winning. Like you might see someone who got lucky or something, but that's like one in a thousand, and even they won't hold it long term. Like if you want to, if this is something you want to pursue, like building a business online, building wealth, there is no shortcut to it. You will have to go through the difficult times, and it's good. It is, I think, very, very difficult. One of the hardest things you can do probably in life, because there is so much competition in this sport of business, right? And there is no shortcut to it. I think you can maybe you can accelerate your time horizon by hanging around with people who are in front of you or ahead of you, hanging around or investing into help. Like those are things you can accelerate things with, but there is no shortcut to the struggling. Like you just simply cannot really skip it, because otherwise you don't become the person who can handle the amount of pressure and also the amount of responsibility and that money that you are desiring at the end of the day.
Yeah, because like I also heard somewhere that, you know, like money amplifies like who you are. So if you're not there, like, you know, if you're not the man and then you make money, then you're just, you know, a boy with a lot of money. Then so kind of this is the problem also, that some people that get rich quick, like you mentioned, like crypto guys or stuff like that, they might experience that because they make a ton of money, but it was just like so easy because maybe they were lucky, invested in the right coin, whatever, just made a ton of money. And it's gonna be a different person than someone who got to the same level, but through working hard, building a business, and like getting to the specific level. It's gonna, like, same amount of money, but two different persons.
Yeah, I heard like saw Andrew Tate talk a lot about this on like TikTok
Oh
or what
yeah.
popped up. And I don't agree with everything he says, but I think this is like really, really true. So yeah, do you have
Exactly.
any specific like mindset shifts you have in mind that you might want to share, or like kind of like epiphanies you experienced over the last few years?
Mm-hmm. It's hard for me to kind of recall some of them because I had like many different ones, but like smaller
Yeah,
ones related to business. Just like, my like mindset shift in terms of like pricing, how much can I charge or how much can I make? Because like I said, when I was starting, I was thinking, well, I can make like, if I could make 5K, that would be like a crazy amount. Like, and I was even thinking of getting to 10K because I wasn't thinking that I could actually get there. So this is like also big mindset shift. Really, when I was starting, I was thinking like 5K would be the max that I can make. And and it's crazy that right now I'm like doing 20, and I'm thinking,
yeah.
well, it's not that much. I can easily get to like
You
50
realize
because I
that,
believe in myself.
yeah, you just realize that whoever you might look up to or like think they are like some sort of superhuman who might be making a lot of money in business, or maybe they are really good in a sport or whatever it is, like they're just like you. When you hang around these people, they are no
Yes.
different. They have uh you know deficiencies. They are not perfect, so there is no real reason why that couldn't be you as well if you decide that is something you want. Because it's just about doing the right actions. There is no real thing that's holding you back. Like there's nothing holding you back from getting there as well. um you know you might have like difficult circumstances, which I would totally understand, but at the end of the day, like you are really, in my opinion, just a vessel as a human being, and if you are gifted with like a decent enough IQ and like intelligence, but you don't even need to be like super smart, in my opinion. Like then there is no reason why you cannot have that. The people at the top are no different, really, in terms of like they are also human beings. They
Yes.
just did what they said they were gonna do consistently for a long time and kept improving on themselves.
Yes, exactly. And sometimes because of the also social media, sometimes you see these people and you think like they are like these perfect people, and that you can't get to this level because they don't sleep, they just work 16 hours a day and
Yeah,
stuff like that. And that's also like not the truth. So yeah.
yeah. One more last kind of epiphany I wanted to share is like, and when I understood this helped me a lot, is that business is just about people at the end of the day. Like everything about it is about people. And so it is very important to become good with people. And now I kind of try to think about it as a way of like the world as like a huge interconnected network of human connections. And basically, if you become really good at making new connections and keeping connections and like connecting other people, and you think of it as like a big web, then I think you will have an easier time of like grasping how things work. Because at first, I really had no idea how money works, or like how the word works, or how money flows and all that thing. But at the end of the day, it's just about like value exchange, right? And people and people's connections. And I know this sounds like very theoretical, or like very, you know like not something that is applicable, but I think just understanding this concept alone is something that can help you a lot in your journey, if you can use this as your frame of mind, kind of.
Yeah, that is a good one too.
Awesome. Cool. Greg, do you have anything you want to end this episode off with?
I think, yeah, I think that's it. I don't have anything
Awesome.
specific.
Well, I hope you guys still found this, video interesting. I know this wasn't as tactical or like do this, do that as the last one,
Mhm.
but I think these topics are just as good to talk about as the other ones because at the end of the day, like mindset and the way you think about the world, the way you operate, your like defaults are 90% of the game, and tactics and what to do are 10% of the game. Because if you cannot get yourself to actually do the actions that you need to take, which is your mindset basically and your operating system, if you cannot get yourself to do those things, like the tactics and all that doesn't even matter, to be honest. So that's why I
Exactly.
like to talk about these things as well. But yeah, hope you guys enjoy. If you want to work with us or see if we could help you, then click the form in the description below and apply for a call to talk with Greg and I personally. And we will see if we can help you with your creative agency. And also, if you enjoyed this episode, drop a comment down below and let us know what topics you would want us to cover next time. So, yeah, hope you guys enjoyed, and peace.
Yeah, cheers, bye.